Where a lot of salespeople go wrong is they try selling things to people that simply can't afford their service. And you'll find that when you go down in price, or if you are intentionally pricing your products so you make just enough so people can just be able to afford your service, you're basically just selling, and I mean, no offense to this, but this is what I've personally experienced. You're basically just selling to people who are a little off. And you'll find that a lot of people will behave a little off when they can't afford your service. Let's say, for example, you sell a service teaching people how to sell on Amazon, right? And somebody can't afford your service. Well, if they can't make the final payment, they think it's justifiable to demand that you do it for a discounted rate after they already paid the first installment. And if you say no to them, they think it's justifiable because they're in survival mode to do a chargeback on the entire thing, even if you delivered the deliverables. Yes, it's theft. Yes, it's fraud. But to them, it's justifiable at the end of the day. Because to them, you're this guy with all this money, and you're not being nice. I'm not even kidding. This is how people tend to think. At the end of the day, you really shouldn't have sold that person. You either should have had a lower tier offer so they can go into that instead, and there would have been a lot less issue, or you simply just said, look, I don't think you're a good fit. But a lot of salespeople today are very materially oriented. And when you're very materially oriented, you ignore this massive thing that's outside of yourself. And I'm not saying it's unethical to sell to people who can't afford you. It's actually not really your problem. But it's going to be inviting a lot of issues into your life. If you simply increased your prices and served premium clients, you'll run into a lot less issues. That's what I've discovered personally. Every single sales individual, every single person that owns a service-based business should have multiple tiers of their service. One that appeals to people in the lower common denominator, incomes of wealth. Someone who's sort of like in the upper middle spectrum. I would never go to the middle. I'm talking like 1,500 to around $3,000. And then people more in the premium clientele type level. I think that when you invite issues into your life, you'll find that you're going to live a little bit more stress. And it's almost always better to delegate that stress where they can't exactly have one-on-one access to you. Try to reserve your one-on-one access to higher paying clientele. You'll generally find too that you'll begin to value the service more yourself when you begin charging more. I think a lot of people are busy running after pretty low numbers. I think that 10 grand a month is a lot of money, but it also isn't a lot of money. 20 grand too per month is not that much money, but it is a lot of money. If you are working for people that really can't afford you so you can live a higher end lifestyle, the money's not worth it. I'd rather make a few sales to higher paying clients than waste my time dealing with people who can't necessarily afford the service. Send them something else. You don't have to completely get rid of the sale. So the way that you would do this anyways is you would improve the product or offer itself. How would I do that? Well, you probably have people who've worked with you in the past, right? What did they get hung up on? What issues did they run into? Include that into your deliverables. Figure out what you can do for them so you can increase the price. Realistically, it's not that difficult. If you know of a way to increase the likelihood of success, you should absolutely do it, because people pay for expediency of results and the lack of work involved. People do pay for convenience. So I've even seen this with e-commerce, by the way, something that I'm extremely familiar with. I found that when I offer faster shipping, when I offer very quick and free shipping and returns, I do make more sales. People want to be able to get their items quickly and be able to return it with very little friction, assuming that you're selling things that aren't perishable, like groceries. Pretty simple, right? Don't make it difficult for people. Make sure it's very quick, easy, and painless to shop with you. It's just unfortunate that a lot of people, they do make it difficult for them. So on the front end, they don't charge enough, and they also make it difficult for people to utilize their product or service. And they wonder why they don't make the money that they desire. If your retention rate is just simply not that impressive, who's to blame? The customer or you? The only common thing and issue is you. That's the only thing they have in common. So if you constantly see things going on, people aren't willing to extend with you, people aren't shopping again with you, then what's the issue here? There's something wrong in the user experience. And that's something that you have to spend time figuring out. And if you don't want to spend time figuring it out, then I'll be honest with you, you're running into some pretty severe bottlenecks there. I think that a business owner needs to give people a reason to come back. And the best reason to come back is, hey, you bought from me before, you know the service or product is great, you already trust me. People buy based on trust and also familiarity. If I've bought with you before, I'm already familiar with you. Familiarity is so strong that people would rather trust their Aunt Nancy instead of a doctor because they're more familiar with Aunt Nancy. So Aunt Nancy says, instead of going on that treatment, take natural herbal remedies. And the doctor will tell them, you can't do that, you need this treatment. A lot of the times people will just rather go with who they're familiar with. So there's ways to onboard more people, there's ways to service more people, and there's ways to increase your sales by just increasing your retention. If you found this video helpful and useful, make sure you like and subscribe.